So hey gang, coming to you from my garage today. Just gonna do a quick video because I get asked this a lot, and it's gonna be about the cost it takes to make the RXB 250, actually the 230 that I own. I bought the off-road version, so the RXB 250 R. How much it's cost me so far to basically make it motocross worthy. I'm gonna break it down to the basics so that if someone was trying to repeat this process, what it would be for them without having to go through all the things that I have. I have spent way more money than this because of trying different things and different parts, different things that worked, things that didn't. But this is what I'm going to call, my ultimate right now, as it is now, and what I consider motocross worthy. Finally, no issues where I wouldn't say that you couldn't take this on a motocross track. So I'm going to turn it around, the camera around, and point at the bike, and then I'm going to go over a parts list. But sorry about the car. I am currently missing my rear spring. You'll see my shock is apart because this is not a standard bike. We kind of had a guess at the spring rate, and it turned out to be not strong enough. So I went from I think it was a 4.8 to now a 5.2 is on the way, but it got delayed in shipping. So I'm not going to have it for this weekend, for the Memorial Day weekend, but I'll probably put the old one back on there, just so I can ride on the weekend. But here we go, just kind of going over some things that are not kind of standard for this bike. So as you can see, the front forks are off a 2005 Honda CRF250 R, and I also put on the triple clamps, the steering triple clamps, because for one, both of these things are lighter. I gained 8 pounds of 8 pounds of lost, or you could say shed 8 pounds of weight from switching from the stock setup from Orion to going to this Honda setup with the front forks and the triple clamps. You know about the rims being changed out. We've talked about that a million times. I just mentioned the rear shock spring. I have a Race Tech shock spring coming, and I'll talk about it later, but obviously Joe Hennard has done valving and shock mod for me, and all the other things I'll get to later. But those are the main things that are just not common that I think you can't ignore. You have to have better rims. We've talked about that, rims and tires. You have to have a better forks, and you have to have a better shock setup. So that's where I am. So I'm going to come over here and going to go over the big board here. So, starting off, the cost of the bike itself was $2,000 for me. To get the kind of horsepower you need, with everything, if I do everything, Joe Henner has it that we can get 31 horsepower, probably a little bit more, 31 plus horsepower, if you do everything I've listed here and get your jetting and everything correct. But your mileage may vary, if you will. But so the bike was $2,000, a big bore kit that takes it from the 223 to almost 240. I call it a 240 kit. It's a little bit less, but 240. So that was $215. This number here is 13-to-1, so a 13-to-1 piston. The original kit comes with a 12, but I got a 13-to-1 to get max horsepower, another $150. The Henner cam, $150. Roller rockers, $45. If you have the new 250 engine, they're in there, so you don't have to worry about that. But the advanced timing flywheel key was $25. The shock mod and valving, not just not the lengthening only. It's the mod plus valving was $150. The rear shock spring that I'm now getting from Racetech was $135. The Honda forks and the triple clamps were an eBay special. I mean, I searched for this for a long time. It'd be very hard to recreate what I did here. This price would likely be more closer to $500. I got such a great deal, but what I found, combo, came to $250. What I advertise most people get now is a wheel set from KKE off of eBay, approximately $400. You might have to spend a little extra for the spacers. Tires cost me $125. Handlebar was $65. Rifle bore carb mod, you really need that to get the right flow on that nibby carb, $50. Big gun rev box, $65. I recommend this one. Joe has other ones. There's an adjustable one they call the purple box, but this is a preset, even though it's very, very, very mild, it's a preset mapping, but it's $65. So all in for what I have, give or take 100 here or there, but $3,900 is what I came to. I kind of rounded it, but you know, so don't check my math, boys. Oh, sorry, and don't forget porting. Porting, $125. That's why it's a little blurry. I had forgotten that earlier. You got to have porting. That's a huge improvement. That's 3 or 4 horsepower right there. So $3,900 is what I came up with. Still say nothing that you can buy brand spanking new is comparable to that. So I'm going to say that would I do it again is the question. I probably would still do it again because I was able to do this over the course of a year, just parts and pieces here and there, and still be able to ride. But there are some good options out there now. KO has a K6R 250 water-cooled dual cam, just beast of a looking motorcycle right now. No one's really got, Joe has one, but no one's tested it yet. But I think that could be the difference maker. The SSR 300 is still a good option, but all these that I'm naming, SSR 300, the KO, the GPX, are $5,500 or above. So you still got savings in doing this way. But you also probably don't get the same performance level. So I don't know. It's hard to say if I would do the same thing again. I'm always about change and modding and doing things, so I don't know if I'd necessarily do it again. But I was able to stretch out the cost well over a year. I was able to ride most of the time, whenever I had things together and I wasn't pulling the engine out. I was still enjoying riding. I would still say that the RXB 230 and 250 are great values, especially if you just ride trails or off-road. You don't take it necessarily. This bike was never designed to be a motocrosser, so taking it to a motocrosser is kind of silly in the first place, but Joe and I did it, and we had to make lots of changes to do it. So I would say that you don't need to spend half of this much if you just rode it off-road in trails, hare scrambles, enduro, that kind of thing. You wouldn't need to spend half this much money, especially when it comes to like bumping up the engine. And one other thing here you'll see that I point to here is my bike came with a nibby and a no-cat stainless steel pipe and intake manifold. But the way that they were selling the 230s the last time that they were available, they're not available now, but the last time they sold them, you had to strip off all this emissions. It came with a different carb, and they were selling it as a kit. So if you paid an extra $250, you would get the 28 millimeter, the no cap pipe, and the intake manifold for like $250, and that would be the way to go because they're more expensive individually. But so this is just to answer how much I got into it. I basically have $4,000 a year worth of investment. Labor is free for me. Not all of this has shipping. Some does, some doesn't. I just kind of rounded the prices around. But when you think of a, what is it, CRF250, I forget what it's called now. The newer four-stroke version of what used to be the 230, the Honda, that's $5,000 out the door, maybe a little bit more with tax. And it's not comparable to this. The suspension's not as good, sits lower. It's not the same vehicle. It's not even comparing apples and oranges, really. Same with the KLX 230. I mean, yeah, they have fuel injection, but I don't know. They're not that cool. I don't think. You can argue that in the comments if you want, but I still think this is a good value. I still think $4,000. With all the things I've done, I've made it such a custom motorcycle now that, yeah, I don't think you could even recreate what I've done because I'm not sure you can even get all the things anymore. But that answers the question. I'll catch you guys next time.